Hello friends, welcome to a new chapter today. In this chapter, uh, in psychiatry, we are going to learn about child psychiatry. So, in the child psychiatry, the first disorder that we are going to learn here is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. This is ADHD, or also called as attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or hyperkinetic disorder. Okay, this attention deficit hyperactivity disorder or hyperkinetic disorder is the most common neuropsychiatric disorder which occurs in children, and it is most commonly seen in males more than females. Here here what do you see? Here one important thing is inattention. They have difficulty in giving close attention. Okay, they don't have proper attention. They frequently make mistakes. They are easily distractible. Like, first, if you ask them to do one thing, and if they suddenly hear music, they get distracted to the music and they might start dancing. That is distractibility, or shift from one activity to other, or they lose interest in task quickly. Okay, they don't find interest the tasks interesting. So that is attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. First thing, that is inattention. The second thing is hyperactivity and impulsivity. Hyperactivity is they are restless. Okay, they can't sit properly for a few minutes also, or few seconds. They are excessively talkative and they disturb other students very easily. Then impulsivity is they can't stop themselves. See, for example, if teacher has asked some question, and if they knew the answer, then they suddenly blurts out the answers. They can't stop or wait for turn. They can't wait for turn, nor they can stop themselves for from blurting out answers, or from stopping talking. No one can uh, make them stop talking also. So they have difficulty in waiting for turns. Then they are sometimes destructive and aggressive also. Okay, one important thing is there are some soft neurological signs which are present in this uh, ADHD. So what does this soft neurological signs uh, suggest? So these soft neurological signs include, first we have, there can be difficulty in copying appropriate figures. They might have difficulty in copying appropriate figures, or difficulty in performing rapid alternate movements, like dysdiadokinesia, if you remember, that is a rapid alternate movements. And they have difficulty in discriminating right to left. Okay, so these have they might have soft neurological signs which are positive. That is, they will have difficulty in copying appropriate figures, or difficulty in performing rapid alternate movements, or difficulty in discrimination from right to left. Okay, and then we have three major subtypes of these. So the subtypes include, one, they are predominantly inattentive. Second, they are predominantly hyperactive and impulsive. One, they are predominantly inattentive. Second, they are predominantly hyperactive and impulsive. Third, there is combined presentation. Okay, one, they are predominantly inattentive. Second, they are predominantly hyperactive and impulsive. Third, we have combined presentation of inattentiveness and hyperactivity. Okay, the course, if you see, 50% will see remission before childhood itself and early adulthood. There is increased incidence of substance abuse disorders in these children. Okay, and they are also associated with antisocial personality and mood disorder. See, attention deficit hyperactivity disorder is actually a serious medical illness, and one should definitely start treatment. That is, they should have medical therapy. So there are two types of therapy which are available. One, we have stimulant therapy. Second, we have non-stimulant therapy. Stimulant therapy include the drug of choice mainly being methylphenidate, which is the drug of choice for stimulant therapy. The other drugs are dexmethylphenidate, dextroamphetamine. See, the drugs include, first we have methylphenidate, then we have dexmethylphenidate, or dexamphetamine, lisdexamphetamine, or modafinil. Okay, so all these are stimulant medications. Then the non-stimulant medications include atomoxetine, clonidine, glafesine, venlafaxine, and bupropion. Non-stimulant medications include atomoxetine, clonidine, guaifenesin, venlafaxine, and bupropion. See, these non-stimulant medications are only given if stimulant medications are contraindicated. So that is about attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. The next group of disorders are pervasive developmental disorders or autistic spectrum disorders. So in this pervasive developmental or autistic spectrum disorders, in this there is disturbance in social interaction, and the child has, in this there is disturbance in social interaction. The first disorder in this is autism or childhood autism or autistic behavior. So what does this autism mean? Here autism means it is a neurodevelopmental disorder. It is associated with chromosome 7 to 4 15 19. It is associated with chromosome 7 to 4 15 19. It is also associated with disorders like Fragile X syndrome, tuberous sclerosis, okay, congenital rubella, phenylketonuria. So it is associated with Fragile X syndrome, tuberous sclerosis, congenital rubella, and phenylketonuria. This autism or childhood autism is most commonly seen in the age group of 3 years. Okay, 70% of them have comorbid mental retardation. Remember, this is also associated with perinatal insult, that is birth asphyxia. So the clinical features are, there is impairment in social interaction, that is poor eye contact, lack of social smile, anticipatory posture. They have poor attachment to the parents. If routine of them is disturbed, then they become excessively angry, and they are extremely aggressive. They become extremely aggressive. See, if routine is disturbed, that means if you replace their house or rearrange their house, or if you give them something new in their routine, then they get worried, they get excessive fear, and they might even show emotional blunting during that situation. Then they show excessive reaction during that situation. Then they have difficulty in maintaining friends or getting into romantic relationship. There is impairment of communication and language in these autistic patients. So in them, if you see, there is significant delay in language milestones. Okay, the milestones will be delayed and the motor milestones are normal. See, there will be significant delay in language milestones and all the motor milestones are normal. They have difficulty in making sentences and pronoun reversal. They will have difficulty in making sentences or pronouns reversals. So all these are seen in autistic spectrum disorders. Then these autistic children have extremely repetitive stereotyped behaviors are seen, like hand wringing movements, spinning or banging are seen. They also have abnormal response to stimuli or higher threshold for pain. Okay, so all these are things which you have to see. In this autistic spectrum disorders, one important thing that occurs is precocious skills or islets of precociousness. Some children are extremely skillful in certain areas, like some have early ability to read very well, that is called as hyperlexia. Some have good memory, some have good calculation ability, that is they are able to calculate very big numbers which the normal children cannot do at their particular age. The treatment of these children for autism is mainly educational intervention, that is structured classroom teaching is necessary. Along with that, you should give behavioral therapy, that is the treatment of choice. Treatment of choice is mainly educational interventions combined with behavioral therapy. The next autistic spectrum disorder include Rett syndrome or Rett disorder. So this Rett syndrome or Rett disorder is most commonly seen in females. This Rett syndrome or Rett disorder is most commonly seen in females. It is normal till 5 months of age. There is normal development is seen till 5 months of age. From 5 to 48 months of age, they lose acquired hand skills, that is fine motor skills are lost in the child, and they lose acquired speech, and they have deceleration in head circumference called as microcephaly. They have stereotyped hand movements like hand wriggling or licking or biting of fingers are seen. They also have poor coordinated gaze or trunk movement. 75% of these children have seizures episodes, and this disease is progressive. The treatment is symptomatic manner. So if you see, they are normal development in till 5 months of age. If you see, till the age of 5 months they are normal, and after 5 months they start decrease in head circumference from 5 to 48 months. This is important. And later, this decrease in head circumference, we call it as microcephaly. They also have stereotyped hand movements like hand wringing, licking, biting of fingers, poor coordinated gait or trunk movements. 75% of these children diagnosed with seizures, they are progressive. Okay, this is Rett syndrome. Then the next disorder, if you see, is childhood disintegrative disorder or Heller's syndrome. So what does this childhood disintegrative disorder or Heller syndrome means? Here there is normal development till 2 years of age. From 2 to 10 years of age, they have loss of acquired motor skills, or there is loss of social skills or language skills, and there is loss of bowel and bladder control. Okay, there are 3 main core symptoms in this Heller syndrome, which include impaired communication, impaired social interactions, repetitive and stereotyped movements. 3 core things are impaired communication, impaired social interaction, impaired communication, impaired social interaction, and also repetitive stereotyped behavior are seen in this childhood disintegrated disorder or Heller syndrome. Treatment is symptomatic treatment. Then the next group of disorder is about Aspergillus syndrome. So what is this Asperger syndrome? In Asperger syndrome, there is abnormal impairment of social interaction. There is impairment of social interaction and restricted and repetitive stereotyped behaviors are seen. You see, impairment of social interaction, restricted and repetitive stereotyped behaviors are seen. There is no language delay. Treatment is supportive. This is Asperger syndrome. Then we have the next group, which is called as conduct disorder and operant defiant syndrome. What does this conduct disorder or oppositional defiant disorder mean? In conduct disorder, there is repetitive or persistent form of disregard to rights of others. So they do not do proper work. Okay, they do not follow proper, they become aggressive and they get engaged in aggressive and dissocial behavior. They might even get engaged in unlawful events also. So they are excessively fighting, bullying, they are cruel. They might start destroying the property, or they can set fire, or they can cause repeated lying. They can even run away from school. Okay, all that is conduct disorder. So they are actually associated, this conduct disorder is associated with unsatisfactory family relationships or failure at school, and finally they develop themselves into antisocial personality disorder when they grew into adulthood. Okay, the next group of disorders include the oppositional defiant disorder. See, in this oppositional defiant disorder, this is a less severe form of conduct disorder where there is persistently negative or defiant behavior. Here the person has persistently negative sorry, in oppositional defiant disorder, here they have persistently negativistic or defiant disorder. That is, they don't indulge in good activities, they are always arguing with others, they are always refusal to comply the rules, they never follow rules, they lose temper in most of the situations. That is, they are persistently negativistic and they have defiant behavior, that is oppositional defiant disorder. They have no serious violation or theft or destruction is not seen. Okay, no serious violation is seen. Treatment is family intervention and behavioral therapy are the treatment of choice of oppositional defiant disorder. The next group of disorders include specific developmental disorders of scholastic skills and learning disorders. So these specific learning disorders include, here there is impairment of one or more scholastic skills, not all the scholastic skills, they have problem in one or more scholastic skills. That is, in dyslexia, if you see, they have disability in sleeping, specific reading disorder. In dyslexia there is specific reading disorder. Then disorder of return expansion or specific spelling, if you see, in this disorder of return expression or specific spelling disorder, they always have specific spelling mistake. Like some people might get confused from D and B and they write reverse. Okay, that is disorder of return expression or specific spelling disorder. Then we have specific disorder of arithmetic skills. These type of children may be very good at all the things, but they are not good at arithmetic skills. That is specific disorder of arithmetic skills. Then children will also have something called as mixed disorders of scholastic skills. So in mixed disorders of scholastic skills, that is, they have impairment in reading, writing and arithmetic. That is a mixed disorder. So these are the specific or developmental disorders or scholastic skills or learning disorders, which include dyslexia, disorder in writing expression or specific spelling disorder, specific disorder of arithmetic skills or mixed disorders of scholastic skills. The last topic for this today is about mental retardation. Okay, in this mental retardation, if you see, it is associated with intelligent quotient, that is mental age by chronological age into 100. Okay, this includes mental age by chronological age into 100. What is the maximum chronological age? If you see, the maximum chronological age is 16. That means 15. That means, for example, if you have to calculate the intelligent quotient, if you have to calculate the intelligent quotient for a child of around 18 years, think that for 18 years child you will have to calculate mental retardation. Then what should you do? Then if you see intelligent quotient is mental age, think that his mental age is 11 years. By chronological age, see, here you should not put 18 because the maximum chronological age should be only 15. So 15 into 100, you will calculate it like this. That means in intelligent quotient, always the denominator should be 15 or less than 15 if the age of the child is less than 15. If the age of the child is more than 15, then always the denominator should be 15 only, irrespective of age of the child. Okay, then this mental retardation can be divided into 3 main types of mental retardation. That includes, we have mild mental retardation, then moderate mental retardation, and profound and severe mental retardation. Okay, in mild mental retardation, they are educatable till 9 to 12 years of age. Their mental age is 9 to 12 years of age, and they can be educated till 6th class. They can live an independent life. Then if you see moderate mental retardation, these moderate mental retardation patients are trainable. They have mental age of 6 to 8 years, and that is, they can study up to 2nd class. They need some education, but they can perform unskilled or semi-skilled work. In severe mental retardation, they are dependent and their mental age is 3 to 6 years. they have no formal education, they needs attention, simple tasks, they do simple tasks under supervision. Then we have profound mental retardation. Here the mental age is less than 3 years. You cannot give any formal education, and these children needs always complete supervision. Continuous supervision is needed for these children with profound mental retardation. Then we have, what is the most common cause of mental retardation in the world? That is, Down syndrome is the most common cause of mental retardation in the world, which is followed by Fragile X syndrome. Then what are the other developmental problems? Other developmental problems are aggression and hyperactivity. Treatment is mainly behavioral therapy. Okay, this is about mental retardation. Thank you guys for watching my lecture. Thank you.